every weekend my husband goes hunting with his best friend, but he comes home with nothing. So I start to get a little suspicious, and I decide to take his crossbow, the arrows that go with it, and hide them under his seat to see if he calls me and says, hey babe, where'd you put them? Did you touch them? Did I leave them home? Well, he comes home, doesn't mention anything about the crossbows, doesn't mention anything about the arrows that I hid, and he comes home with nothing once again. So now I'm super suspicious of what's going on. I'm thinking something's not adding up. So I decide to take our kids the next time he goes hunting and drop them off at my mom's house. I don't want to alert anyone because I don't really know what's going on yet. I leave them there with her. They're good. And I decide to also put an air tag in his truck so I can follow him. Well, turns out when I look at where the air tag is, the location where he says he's going to be, he's not there. He's 200 miles in the wrong direction. And I come to find out it's a motel. So now before I black out or go crazy or do something I'll regret, I decide to follow up. So I go to this motel, and when I pull up, the first thing I see is his best friend's wife's car. And I'm thinking the worst, because his best friend's wife, gorgeous. She's the prettiest girl you've ever seen. Maybe 5'4", 110 pounds, gorgeous body, beautiful face, Shakira-like hair, just something that walks out of a magazine. And while I'm in my thoughts thinking the worst, I feel a hand on my shoulder, and I jump, and it's her. And I'm thinking the audacity of this woman. And I start accusing her. I'm like, why are you with my husband at a motel? What is happening? We start going back and forth. And so after, confronting each other, she says, well, hold on. I gave my husband my car because his truck wasn't working. And she's also suspicious because her husband never goes anywhere without his truck. He'll stay home if it's broken. So now we're putting two and two together, and we're thinking, we don't know what's going on. We're both in the dark. Luckily, her train of thought was a little more clear than mine. She's like, let's go talk to the front desk. Let's find out what room they're staying in, or if they're even here. We walk in, and we have to deal with the most southern man you probably have ever seen, and he looks like he's on every uncontrolled substance you can imagine. And of course, instead of helping us out, I'm trying to reason with him. I'm like, tell me what room they're in, please help us out. He's like, we can't do that. We have standards here. We won't give out anything. Finally, Trisha, his best friend's wife, is like, I'll give you $100 if you tell us what room they're in right now. Clearly their standards aren't that high. He goes, they're in 202. You make a left, go up the stairs. Of course, we trail it. We go up there. Immediately, we get to the flat. We're outside the door. I'm about to knock. She stops me because the first thing we hear is giggling. There's music. And there's partying going on because it's clearly not just two people in that room. There was more than that. I'm about to barge in, knock, warn them that we're here, and she stops me. She says no, because if you give them time, they can make this look. Whatever's going on, they can fix. We go back down, we go talk to our new substance-controlled friend downstairs. But this time, he's not going to give us the key. He says, no, I can't do that, refuses, makes us leave. Of course, we walk out, we wait about 5 minutes, and then she realizes that he leaves the front desk. Faster than I could blink, she's behind the desk, grabs the key, we're back up those stairs, in front of the door, puts the key in, opens as quick as possible, and I'm just in a state of shock of what I'm seeing. I'm not even going to traumatize you guys with it exactly, but just imagine there are 10 other men from our neighborhood, all undressed, all doing things that I won't repeat. She starts screaming. I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe this is happening, because my ex-husband now is one of the most homophobic men I have ever met in my life. So I'm just in a state of shock. She starts going off, and I don't know where her mind went, but immediately she starts yelling at everyone in that room. She says, we're getting a divorce. Me and her are now divorcing them together. We are taking the kids, we're taking the house, we want alimony, we want everything if you want us to stay silent. And I mean, we had the power in that moment. I didn't even realize it. They agree to this. They're like, fine, we'll give you everything if you stay quiet about this. So we do. Not a problem. Our divorces go through. We're finalized. We keep everything, which is the least they could do after that scene. So 2 years later, before that, I'm just broken after this. I decide I'm going to go to church because I don't know where else to put my faith. Everything I thought, the future I thought I had with this man, just gone in a blink of an eye. I go to church. The pastor gets me to open up to him. He's like, look, God puts things in people's path all the time. He works in mysterious ways, and sometimes it's just to test you. So, through church, I was able to heal. I actually ended up meeting someone. It's great. I am thankful for that part of it. But now fast forward 2 years later, and I kept silent, and so did she. But someone else in that group, another man who was there that night, their wife hired a private investigator, and everything that happened in that love ring came out. All of it. And I still got to keep everything, which is, we love that for us. But it was a long, long journey. And honestly, you know, I do. God works in mysterious ways. He really does. But to anyone out there, you know, if someone is super homophobic, maybe just be a little more than suspicious.
We called it Ookie Cookie. It was just a lighthearted drinking game we used to play in college. Harmless, really. Some people called it Wet Biscuit, but our group preferred to call it Ookie Cookie. Anyways, you just get the bros together. You stand in a group in a circle around a bar stool, and you put a cookie on top, like sugar cookie, M&M cookie. It doesn't really matter, just as long as there's adequate surface area. When the leader screams go, everyone pulls it. This is the funny part. Everyone pulls out their unit and starts feverishly self-stimulating with the goal to not be the last one that finishes on the cookie, because the last person to finish is then obligated to eat the cookie in its entirety. You know, having said that out loud, all these years later, it almost sounds a little gay. But no, it was just mostly just a team building exercise. It was a bonding experience, really. Yeah.
Speaking of gay, Obama. Do you think he's gay?
152%. I'm glad that Tucker's kind of bringing this up.
You had sex with him twice. You did cocaine with him, watched him smoke crack twice. You had no idea who he was.
I had no idea who he was.
That guy was never debunked. And I'm just like, if you're the president of the United States and some guy comes out and says that he's been doing drugs with you and he's been having sex with you, I'm assuming you've got the lawyers that can take care of his defamation.
The New York Post has obtained a letter written by Barack Obama to his then-girlfriend Alex McNear, in which he discusses his views on homosexuality. The letter was written in November 1982 when Obama was 21 years old. Obama said he believed that homosexuality was an attempt to remove oneself from the present and a refusal to perpetuate the farce of earthly life. He also said that he made love to men daily in his imagination.
I performed oral sex on Barack Obama. The following day, I actually get a knock on my hotel room door in Gurnee, Illinois, only to find Barack Obama standing in front of it. He had actually come back for seconds. I performed oral sex on him in the hotel room at the Comfort Inn and Suites in Gurnee, Illinois.
Now, Obama at that time was a state senator.
I actually had no idea who he was.
And then when did you find out that it was Barack Obama?
Watching the 2004 DNC convention.
Thank you very much, everybody. God bless you. Thank you.
I performed fellatio on Senator Obama in the limousine during the time Senator Obama was smoking crack cocaine.
You are arrested
By the D.C. Police Department upon the orders of Beau Biden, Attorney General for Delaware. Apparently, he had a grand jury indictment from 2 weeks after I went public on Obama accusing me of theft that never took place. Donald Young was the choir director in Jeremiah Wright's church in Chicago.
This is the church Obama attended.
You've said that your religious faith dictates that marriage should be between a man and a woman. Would you elaborate on that?
Well, what I believe is that marriage is between a man and a woman.
Why? What in your religious faith calls you to be against gay marriage?
Well, what I believe in my faith is that a man and a woman, when they get married, are performing something before God, and it's not simply the two persons who are meeting.
That being the case, Mr. Obama, that being the case, if something is not a choice, if something is innate, then why isn't it a civil right? And why isn't your support of civil unions as opposed to marriage, does that amount to separate but equal?
No, I think there are a whole host of things that are civil rights, and then there are other things, such as traditional marriage, that I think express a community's concern and regard for a particular institution.
So marriage is not a civil right as far as you're...
Did you know that LGBTQ rights are generally not accepted in the African continent? Homosexuality is outlawed in 34 nations. And in certain regions, homosexuality is punishable by prison and even by death penalty. On March 22nd, Uganda passed one of the world's harshest anti-homosexuality and anti-LGBTQ laws in the world. Uganda was heavily condemned by Biden administration and Canada's Justin Trudeau threatening of sanctions. Uganda was also surprisingly condemned by South African Pan-Africanist Julius Malema. And Candace Owens from Conservative Black America kind of condemned Uganda because she has to say so, but didn't really condemn Uganda.
If you look at the history of countries around the world, when you start treating people differently, not because of any harm they're doing anybody, but because they're different, that's the path whereby freedoms begin to erode. And bad things happen. And when a government gets in the habit of treating people differently, those habits can spread. If somebody is a law-abiding citizen who is going about their business and working in a job and obeying the traffic signs and doing all the other things that good citizens are supposed to do, and not harming anybody, the idea that they are going to be treated differently or abused because of who they love is wrong. Full stop.
Just like President Obama, I think we also need to be able to speak frankly about some of these things. And the fact of the matter is that Kenya and the United States, we share so many values. Our common love for democracy, entrepreneurship, value for families. These are things that we share. But there are some things that we must admit we don't share. Our culture, our societies don't accept. It's very difficult for us to be able to impose on people that which they themselves do not accept. This is why I repeatedly say that for Kenyans today, the issue of gay rights is really a non-issue. We want to focus on other areas that are day-to-day living for our people. The health issues that we have discussed with President Obama, these are critical. Issues of ensuring inclusivity and of women, a huge section of society that is normally left out of the mainstream of economic development. What we can do in terms of infrastructure, what we can do in terms of education, in terms of our roads, in terms of giving our people power, encouraging entrepreneurship. These are the key focuses. Maybe once, like you have, overcome some of these challenges, we can begin to look at new ones. But as of now, the fact remains that this issue is not really an issue that is on the foremost mind of Kenyans, and that is the fact.